Okay, we're gonna try something new. On the suit jacket take-in video, we have a couple of comments and questions that are really common, so I wanna address them. Alona says, I did the same as you, but the fabrics are warping. The side fabric underneath the vent is trying to push up over the vent. Really common. What do I do? And also, does the angle of the vent matter? Yes, maybe not in the way that you think. So I've got a suit jacket here, and I'm going to actually show you on it because it's easier. We've got the back vent, and I've already opened a seam here, so I'm gonna jump right in through there and pull this section where the vent begins out. So I've chalked this. Often it's actually already chalked from when they originally cut the suit. So you can see here, very close to being a 90-degree angle. But that's how it comes, right? So if we're trying to alter it, we can do a couple of things. The 90-degree angle or slightly more than a 90-degree angle, not less. We can't go less, and we don't want to go too much more. I would say maybe in that 90 to 110 degree range would be possible. The reason is this: when we veer too far from the 90-degree angle, we are starting to get a curve, and unless the back fits that perfectly, it can get a little bit dicey because the fabric doesn't like that. The fabric is cut on grain. And so a couple of the things that we can do are we can clip into the corner. This may limit your ability to go back and take the jacket in or out flexibly in the future, but you can clip into this corner, not all the way, but partially in, to give this seam allowance more flexibility, and that will help with the curve on the outside. We think about this more with women's clothing. Women requires a lot of clipping around our curved edges, and we don't think about it as much with men, but they need the flexibility of the clipping and the edges for the curve. So yes, 90 degree is ideal, but if we're going a little bit past 90 degrees, clipping into that corner can help. And then the pressing, always comes back to the pressing. The pressing is so important. Now, if you are taking in the vent so much that you really can't get it to press and lay flat, you might be looking at a different jacket. We can only really comfortably, I only comfortably really can go maybe 2 sizes in either direction, up or down. Outside of that, we're getting into an area where proportionally the entire jacket is too much, too big, or too small. So men or women, I like to stick to the 2 range in either direction. Outside of that, you know, maybe a little shopping trip is in order. All right, so this is a question that I get a lot, and it's controversial. So the question of the pressing cloth. I get a lot of comments and questions about why we aren't using pressing cloths in between the fabric and the iron. I do think it's not only a preference, but it's also the amount of steam, the heat of your iron, the type of fabric that you're working with, your personal experience with ironing different types of fabric in different scenarios really educates whether or not you do or want to use a pressing cloth. Yes, the scorching issue is definitely possible. We use an industrial steam iron, heavy steam. I mean, so much steam that you could definitely, burn your face. That much steam, wet heat allows us to temper that scorching. The right amount of pressure, the right amount of time spent in an area on the right amount of fabric with the right amount of steam is this really perfect formula. And I wish that there was a better answer, but the answer is do it a lot, work with it often, and you will find what your sweet spot is. There is a sweet spot for ironing, and for us, suits, wedding dresses, it doesn't matter what it is. I know the kind of heat that I want to work with on the kind of fabric that I want to work with, and the best way to do it is to practice. Use other pieces of fabric. Use a pressing cloth. There's nothing wrong with using a pressing cloth. The truth is, here, we are working with tons of different fabrics, different garments all day long. We are running a shop. And the extra step of the pressing cloth for us most of the time We'd rather rely on our experience and use that to feel what's right for the garment. This last one is for the collared shirt fitting video. The question asks, how do you cut the cuff off? Kind of hard to see in the video, but these style shirts normally have buttons that extend opening on the cuff. Would you lose all of that? Great question. How do we cut it off? We don't. There is a seam running straight along the top of the cuff that holds it on. The way that they produce this cuff on the collared shirts is the inner part of the cuff is slightly taller than the outer part, so that they're able to run that under the machine in one stitch, and they're going through all these layers of fabric. This one, the shirt itself, and the front of the cuff, and they're running that right on. So because they've already done that once, we're just seam ripping between those layers and taking it off. Depending on how far you're going up, you might also take the placket of the shirt off. We usually go, if we're shortening it less than an inch, we're just moving the cuff up and reattaching it again, one straight stitch, just like they did. Once you start taking that cuff off, you're gonna see exactly what I mean. It's actually really straightforward and easier than it looks. If you're shortening more than an inch, that's when you're gonna take that placket off as well and move the whole placket up, meaning yes, you're gonna cut a little bit deeper. Thank you so much for your questions. We love seeing them, we love reading them. I hate to think that all of us are out there sewing in a vacuum, so keep leaving the questions and we will keep trying our best to answer them. Thank you so much for joining us. Please like this.